Welcome everyone and welcome to All In, All United.
Remember the comment you made?
I got from varsity.
Run Ryan.
And everything you have players out there.
I think the fellas will take it more serious.
Hey, what grade?
That one at the go.
Yes, because at the end of the day, right now, Manchester United.
Welcome everyone and welcome to All In, All United. Simeon be on the inside. Phil's supposed to jump in. You know, I think Kristen at some point as well. All right. Yeah, well, Phil on the inside already, man. So Kristen's supposed to jump in at some point, hopefully. But guys, we're here. I think we have a lot to talk about. I think the press conference, the post-match press conference was probably will have more talking points than the actual game. You know, if we really want to talk about something different now. You know, because I mean, I don't know if to put this down to another emotional release from Amorim, you know, or is it that he really under some pressure from the board, you know, and he reacting to it and he using the you know his this avenue to vent. I don't know, you know, but we'll come to that. We will touch on the game. You know, I guess it have some stuff that we could touch on, you know, and talk about the game today. And yeah, let me see where it goes. So welcome to me and Phil. What going on, fellas?
Who knows what's going on? Who knows what's going on, man? Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, well, Happy New Year and all the best to everybody on the pod and in the comments for 2026. And you'll probably be hearing us doing the exact same speech every pod once Amorim is in, over and over and over for the next 52 weeks. Well, not 52 weeks because there's no football in the summer except for World Cup, thank God. But yeah, all the best to everybody in 2026, and whoever's around you, keep accountable, whether you're watching Manchester United, whether it's family. And we've always looked to keep Manchester United accountable, right? But do they listen to us? No, they don't, but that's not going to stop us. So, New Year, same, you know how it goes, right? So,
Yeah. And Happy New Year to everybody as well, man. Phil, Simeon, all the panelists, all the viewers, all the commenters. You know, we do appreciate the support, you know, through the good times, which has been few and far between, you know, and then the therapy sessions, which has been, you know, more of the constant lately. But you know, I mean, sometimes after the pod, you just feel a little, you know, you get the opportunity to vent, you know, whether it be in the comment section or on the screen. You know, you tend to feel a little bit after that release now. You know, so that's what we're here for as well, you know. So thanks for sticking through with All in All United, and we hope we can go forward together, man, and hopefully at some point the club will get their act together so we could have some, you know, some good sessions here talking about, you know, we being back, winning titles, stuff like that, you know. But anyway, guys, so I mean, we want to get into the game. Again, as I said before, we have some other things that we want to talk about, and we'll definitely talk about it. But for the first part, we want to talk about the game, you know, and Wolves, that wasn't the result that, you know, we would have wanted, even though, I mean, if we've been real with ourselves, it's not something that we didn't expect or we didn't see coming, right? But going into Leeds has been on a good run. I think they haven't been beaten the last 9 games or something, unbeaten the last 9, right? And we go into Ellen Road to play them in the form that we're in. And I don't like to use the excuses that, you know, players injured and we have players in the AFCON, because we're not the only team that deal with that issue, you know? So yeah, we had Ellen Road. Talks on the team sheets earlier. We know the manager had issues with certain, you know, individuals. You saw it, you heard it in the press conference, the tone, everything, the vibe, everything, it just seems so different from the smiley Amorim. But looking at the team sheets, guys, Simeon, thoughts on the team sheets before the game?
Yeah, I mean it. I don't think anything was, I don't feel surprising, but like the fact that Zirkzee didn't start was the first thing you kind of pick up on. Um, then after that, you kind of wanted to see where everybody was playing. And one thing you realized was mostly a lot of defensive players on the field. Very, defensive lineup. Um, whew, I mean, it's good to see Heaven he's come along pretty well, getting a run of games. Dogu and more attacking position. Yeah, I don't think there was too much surprises with the starting lineup. Just a matter of the biggest thing was where everybody would line up and what formation he would use. Obviously, but I have no issues with the. I don't say I have no issues. I have no not surprised with any of his starting lineup. It's just the formation and the way he used them that were kind of not inspiring for me. That being said, I felt like they had enough out there, to do the job, but the job wasn't being done. So, it's one of those games where you wake up early in the morning, you really don't want to wake up that early to watch the game, and then you you just want to go back to sleep afterward, because after the first half at least, because ain't nothing you see really make you feel good about waking up in the morning. So one of them games.
Yeah, I think just before Phil coming, right? I think that first half was a proper ball fest. I mean, it's been a while since I really didn't miss watching a game live. Sometimes I was in church this morning, right? That was an unusually early game. And I'm in church, and I didn't really care to know what was going on.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah,
Didn't
because
miss
I know,
anything.
I didn't miss anything. And when I watched the game, because I mean, for the purpose of being here and being able to talk about the game, that first half was a real snowfest, a snooze fest, as they call it. Phil?
Yeah, I think that was the one thing that I was going to mention as well. That first half, I didn't fall back asleep. I find that in the last couple of months, I find that you got to learn how to multitask while watching Manchester United, right?
Yeah.
So I could be
Yep.
on my phone. I could be on my phone scrolling through X. I could have two screens. I could be watching Manchester United on the first screen, and I will watch some trashy reality TV on the next screen. And you know which one is more excited? The trashy reality TV, right? I get more excitement out of watching that, right? But all jokes aside, um, it's funny. It's funny how we had two formations in this game, and I guess we'll get on to the last formation later on in the pod. But it's almost like you can't do everything at the same time, where you do a 4-4-2 and also start like Dorgu on the right where he's supposed to be. No. Let's do a 3-4-3 again, but then Dorgu is in his final position, and in his position that he played well against Newcastle, right?
Dorgu didn't start in the 10 though?
No, Dorgu started on the right today, no?
He played the 3-4-3, started with 3-4-3, and Dorgu play as one of the 10s with Cunha behind Sesko.
Right. But
Okay,
at the end of the day, he played the right 10 though, which is
Yeah.
still kind of the right side,
Okay.
right? But I want to fast forward a little bit, then go back. By the time we convert to the 4-4-2, Dorgu was already tired. You could just tell in the last 20 minutes, the guy was trying too hard, and the guy was already tired because he already got exhausted by that 3-4-3 formation. Anyway, let's come back to the starting lineup, right? No Joshua Xerxes. Okay. But you predict what happened. You can kind of see what would happen, whether it was who would come on for who, and then lo and behold, look how they equalize the score. But we'll get to that later on, right? And for some reason, the stubbornness of Ruben Amorim is there for all to see, right? And you gotta realize, Ruben Amorim, the media, I don't know, Ruben Amorim, you're managing one of the biggest clubs in the world, not in England, not in Trinidad, in the world. You imagine one of the biggest clubs with one of the biggest fan bases. You really expect that if the club does not get a result, that people will not come after you. Come on, my guy. Come on. But yeah, let me just wrap it up and hand it back over to you guys. I don't know what formation we'll be playing from now to the end of the season. I don't know. You can ask other fans of other clubs what will be their club's formation for the upcoming fixture against whoever, right? Me as a Manchester United fan, I literally don't know, right? I don't know where players are going to be. I just know who may start, but that's about it, right? So,
yeah. And I think the consensus, is with us here in terms of the starting lineup. And we were talking a couple episodes ago, about the admission that Amorim made about, coming to the realization that he needed to play to the strengths of his squad. And for some reason or the other, I'm not seeing where that ambition being played out, it not being backed. Because I still see Nacho at the back, right? I still see Nacho at the back. And the thing about it, what is so annoying is this manager make a confession, but he had doing nothing to change, right, to make things better. And we have seen against Newcastle, we see it against Wolves, and we see it again today, that every time you abandon that back three, the team looks better. I still don't understand how we could have a three at the back and we still conceding goals as though it have nobody there. But this manager seeing something, he have this ideal, and then players had to make it or bust. Right? And I think this is where, we would come to at some point with the whole press conference with Amorim, where he being challenged, I suspect, to be a little more adaptable and a little more flexible. But the whole omission of Xerxes at the start of the game, him being the only senior player on the bench, right? With you having 8 defensive players and 2 attacking players. So you start a game with 8 defensive players, right? And 2 attacking players, and you want to try to win the game. So when he was asked about the change before the game, this is what the manager mumbled, to try to answer the question, thinking that we, everybody else do this now, right? He was like, I was just thinking about what we are going to face today. Trying to make a team comfortable to win the game, right? That's why he went with 8 defenders and 2 attackers and left a senior attacker on the bench. That's why. He tried to make a team comfortable to win the game, and we don't have a lot of options, but we are ready to be competitive, right? Now, from the time I saw that, I just knew that there was some kind of nonsense going on, because it have no way you want to be competitive, right? You want to win a game, and then you're set up in a way where your first priority is, hey, I prefer not lose, right? So I'm going to play all the defenders I have, and I'm going to play just 2 attackers, because why do these 2 attackers? Bar Cunha, who form kind of up and down, right? Here, no way again from Cunha. And then Sesko misfiring at the moment. But those are the two big money signings, so you have to play them, right? But, and I'm using Phil too. Lo and behold, second half, when you change the system and they try to play with a little more risk, the team looked better. The team started to attack more. We score. Mind you, we conceded with 8 attackers on the pitcher. I mean, 8 defenders. So, I really don't know, if Amorim trying to prove a point to the board. I don't know what's going on. But I don't know. Let's talk about some positives from the game, guys. If there are any that you all could point out on the game today.
Heaven was positive. I still don't get how people are saying he's responsible for the goal, because Dorgu's the one who gave away the ball. Dorgu's the one who. Say what?
But I think Heaven, I don't know, like it just looked as though Heaven dropped asleep. Like he didn't. I don't know. That goal just looked real weird.
It looked weird. It looked weird. But then, like, I watched over a few times. I at least watched over a good 10, 15 times, and I'm like, I can see why people would put the blame on Heaven. But Dorgu's the one who was trying so hard today. He was trying a bit too hard there, and he just gave away the ball just like that as well too. But I mean, I'm not going to come down on Aiden Heaven, because Aiden Heaven has been a bright spark in this team for the last probably 5-6 games now, right? So that's good. The Joshua Zirkzee sub, that was a positive. And Benjamin Sesko also did a job today that I was like, okay, I would like to see more of this here, but then we got to be a bit more clinical as well too, right? Benjamin Sesko I hope he realizes that the physicality of the Premier League is going to be something that is going to make you or break you, right? Because you being the new kid, the opposition defenders are going to look to gang up on you. They do it with Sesko. They've been doing it with Gyökeres as well too at Arsenal as well. So just because these guys start to realize that the Premier League, well, they realize probably no, but the Premier League is physical, and it's not about just touching the ball. You got to use your hands and what to shield off men as well too, right? But no, Benjamin Sesko definitely. I think him scoring a goal would definitely boost his confidence as well too, right? Ugarte was not bad today. His performance at home versus Wolves was better, but this performance today was not on that same level, but it wasn't trash, right? Oh my God, who else did well, or who put in a good performance? I mean, Cunha took his goal well, and definitely, I think Cunha needs to realize that he doesn't have to do it by himself, right? I think a front three of Sesko, Cunha, and Zirkzee. I saw the link up play of those three today for like moments, and it looks like maybe this could be something that we could work with. But us three saying it on the pod and what Amorim is going to do could be something totally different, night and day, right? I was a little bit disappointed with Casemiro, because Casemiro still has these traits of playing these 1-2 over the top passes and they never come off. So that's something he'll definitely need to work on. And I don't want to sound negative, but I think this was a positive. Because we only made one sub today, right? I think we only made one sub with the Zirkzee sub, right? I think only making that one sub with the Xerxes sub was a good move. And I'll tell you why. I literally have no idea what the other guys on the bench will bring us. I don't, right? Those are youngsters. I think 5 of them were all 18 and under. I have no idea what they would have done for us today, right? The youngsters came on versus Wolves and Newcastle and made 0 impact. And I'm just going to assume, based on what I've seen before, they would have probably made zero impact today as well too, right? So I guess those are my positives per se. I mean, Sene Lamans did his thing as well. Um, but yeah, those are the positives today for me. So
Yeah, yeah. Simeon, what about you? And we could get into like thoughts on the game, right? You know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much, positives. I think Phil mentioned, the Xerxes, the Heavens, the Laments. I don't have, you know, you can be happy you got there, ain't playing shit, but he is a, even though he's not what we want, he's a international footballer. I think he might have some skills, just the level that we need. I didn't think Leeds was that great. I thought they could be dangerous on the counter attack. Um, I think they were could be that dangerous, on the counter attack. I think that's a positive. Um, it's positive. They what's the full name? Calvert Lewin. He hit the post. Very power. I mean, had a that's a positive. He subbed, they brought on cooler ball coming and Leeds sub coming and cooler ball. I swear it was going back in net, but luckily, I mean, I don't have too much. I mean, positives today to look at and say, well, this went well. I mean, we played better. We played common sense football for spells. It looked like the change of formation. I keep hearing everyone say it changed. Amram said he did some flex, so you're never too sure what really going on with them because Amram would say he just flexed something. But overall, I mean, it's good we get a point, but I need, more. I think I look at Cunha, and Phil said, he tried to do everything for himself. That's fine. We ain't the people we have up front really, especially Cunha, need to develop a more trust in his partnerships up there. You can't keep trying to dribble through two, three fellas. By him doing that, we lost the ball a number of times. Dallo, with all he talk about, people need to love the club more. Need to learn how to pass better. All these passes he keep doing and losing the ball. These simple passes we keep missing in the first half. It was really, you know, infuriating. I think the we should have enough quality to beat Leeds today. I just feel like if it was the manager or the players, we ain't making the best of the players we have on the field, and it's frustrating to watch. Yeah, we do have enough, but we have enough to do a thing, and I feel like we just making it more difficult than it has to be most of the time. I just feel like and it goes back to what was said in the press conference, like something ain't right with this club. Something is amiss, as they would say. Something ain't transferring. So yeah, I know we'll talk about that later, but I think what you can see the ripples of a club in dysfunction, on the field.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I watched the first half, and it almost seems to me, like at the team playing so chaotic right now. I'm not seeing, I'm not seeing where we have like a plan and the players on the field trying to execute a plan. I seeing footballers coming together and trying to play one. And the only thing that seems as instructions for me is press, press, force errors and try to score. But all these footballers so are supposed to go out there and know what to do. The goal is to score on them. Right? So use all your abilities, use all your knowledge, and do that.
But
But
Kareem,
the only thing, yeah.
Kareem, before you go, who that remind you of? Who that remind you of? Press. That's the most important thing.
Oh yeah.
Important thing that team supposed to do. Press with the ball and score.
Yeah, Ten So, but to me, it's supposed to have a method to press, and pressing shouldn't be, that shouldn't be your style of football. You know what I'm saying? It's just a part of a strategy, But But when I look at how we play, that's the only thing that I just see that it look like, okay, well, that's what I know they're supposed to do. Everything else is freestyle, So, like, for instance, the game today, the first half in particular, everything just looked so chaotic in how it was being done. We just, hustling here, hustling there. It had no pressing triggers. It wasn't seeing like a orchestrated type of press. It was just we tried to close them down. Dogu tried to come in for Sesko Day, and then when we get back the ball, we pass it around. We tried, but it had nothing that looked, when we had the ball, well constructed. And I watched that first half and I was saying how it is we could be here after, a year and change, and we still don't know what the players are supposed to be doing. They're not looking, as though, patterns are rehearsed, movement positions are rehearsed. Casemiro's still doing this over the top thing that been unsuccessful, and again, the manager there, and he's a very fortunate man to still be in a job. Again, we will get to that. But this was my observation for the first half. And I was seeing even Leeds, who sitting so low down in the table, wasn't in Calvert-Lewin, knew where to be, he knew how to run, he gained the ball, these 1-2s, and they're making these penetrating passes and running at me with such ease. And I say, why we can't play like that? Why we can't play like that? But again, back to the question, the positives for me, Lamens continues to keep us in games and save us from losing games. Heaven for me, apart from that blunder, because I still kind of think, Phil, I don't know what happened to Heaven Day. I know Dogu had a part to play, but what happened to Heaven Day? Right? But Heaven continues to perform really at a very high level. I like Heaven on the ball. I like how he does progress the football. He looks so calm in possession. I like that Martinez, another warrior that, I really appreciated Martinez even more, and the Xerxes cameo was a positive as well, because when he came on, we were actually looking to play the ball forward. I think he was dragging players out of position, and it was creating spaces for Cunha to run into, for Sesko, So those were the things that were positive, but I don't know, the comments after the game is what I really want to get into, guys. Go ahead, Simeon.
Before we do that, because that we got. I mean, I could lead into that. We touch on Sesko, and I've had mixed feelings about Sesko. But the biggest thing with Sesko is, for a club, I don't care how good he is or how good he was coming here. It's about how good you are, when you're here. We see what, because Rasmus will, besides Rasmus, touch, his finishing, Rasmus will be a good player for Amarim. Mold, to grow into the system, but his touch was not great and he couldn't finish. And Amarim run him out of here, run him on, and that was, I think one of the first times I see a player who wasn't given no trouble, get around United. So with that in mind, I watching Sesko. I listen to the manager. The manager talk about. I mean, I could just be reaching. You talk about people doing their jobs at this club, and he mentioned the scouting department. I mean, that might be a reach. But I'm saying what I'm gonna say is with Ten Hag, with Amarim, with all these coaches, why are you trying to get your system in place or running? You need strikers up there to cover up whatever it might be and buy you time with goals. He wasn't going to get that with Rasmus. And now you're bringing Sesko, who had a bigger, I mean, he's young too. He had a bigger profile. And you have Sesko out there getting chances and not putting it away. I mean, I not to say that he might go after a year, but I'm worried about Sesko because, as we all know, this club is not built for young players, especially strikers. And when you're a striker, you're not scoring with the opportunities given, and he had some good, some decent chances today. I start to worry. And that comment about scouting, today really, the question you have, who picking these players, the coach, or the manager, whoever Amram is, or the technical director. So, Sesko, I keep an eye on Sesko because he playing now. But remember when he had the whole team fit, he played Cunha and Bumo and who was up there? Who was up there? Cunha.
Mount.
Yeah. So watch that.
No, it's an interesting conversation. No, I remember last time, and I still hold my opinion on Sesko. I think he's a good player. I think he's better than Hoyland. The fundamentals, he's better than Hoyland. He could touch the ball, he could hold up the ball, he could link the play. I think Sesko could do that. So, but I remember, guys, I was saying that this team would work better with a kind of false nine. This is why when we play Cunha through the middle, we have looked better. Because that focal point that people keep raving about, we need a focal point. That player is quite often isolated. And then now on top of that, Simeon, to your point, when you bring an inexperienced young player into a team where the jersey heavy, and you asking him to be responsible for your goals, and you don't involve him, you isolate him, and then he could start to snatch at chances. A confident, experienced striker. I'm not saying that he may not have missed that chance with Sesko again, but perhaps with the experience, time and space, knowing the Prem, he might have been able to make a different decision and score there. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I keep saying this team plays better with a false nine. This is why it is doom ahead in as to why Joshua Zirkzee, I'm not saying he's the best, but he's what we have, right? Why he's not being utilized more. This is one of the reasons why even before and fellas, it had the receipts and we just talk. I was always for Ollie Watkins because I feel Ollie Watkins is a bit of a hybrid. He could stretch the line, he could run in between, but he could also drop deep and link. I was for Ollie Watkins earlier, right? But we saw on this traditional type number 9 striker that had to be in the box and he had to do this and here. But we don't play to the strengths of these kind of players, fellas. And I was banging on about that. But we spent 70 million, so guess what? We had to use it because we can't just waste that money. We can't have it on the bench. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, let me repeat. I think how Sesko is being used, not helping him. I think he could have been integrated better into the team. You know what I'm saying? But this is where we are. Sesko confidence shot. And you see it because he's rushing chances. He gained service now. He got header earlier today, and you're expecting a fella who's so strong in the air to do better than a header. The chance where Xerxes played into him, open your body. So much things, that I don't even want to blame him for, even though he should be responsible for it. Because I think that the circumstance not lending to help develop the player, gradually, bring him into the team as opposed to just push him there and say, hey, you there to score goals. But don't worry, players around you ain't gonna really help you that much because Cunha trying to carry the team for himself and wherever. You know what I'm saying? So I hear you. And Sesko had to, there's something that Sesko, but me, I know how you can figure this thing out. I think it's a good player there, but the circumstances and the environment, I don't know. I really don't know. And I feel like questions could just keep coming about Sesko, and I feel like confidence can take a real serious hit. And because the manager do like the profile of Xerxes, because we said since last season, it will never have that switch where we could see, Xerxes there taking the thing, he playing to the strengths of the team. He can facilitate for Cunha, he can facilitate for Mbumo or whoever play on the next side. We're not going to see that. We can see Mount come back in and Sesko just going to be there and isolation, you go drop in to link a little bit and I don't know. Sometimes they just make it look as though all he needs is one goal to kick on. And we used to say that about Hoyland, and Hoyland go score one goal and you still won't see the kick on. They're making it look as though it's the player. But for me, it's more than just the player. It's the system. It's the environment. It's what we're doing to help the player. How are we playing repeatable patterns that showing me that, hey, we're really looking for that man to score goals. So yeah. Phil, you have any comments on Sesko at all? I know you would have made it in the comment section last time.
Yeah, similar to what Simeon said, I'm still not on the Sesko train as yet. And you know what? It's easy to say there's a player there, right? But as you mentioned, he's not being utilized to his full potential, right? So, for example, when our right back or left back is played through, why are they looking to send a ball on the ground instead of in the air?
Or cut back. Sometimes, most times, we want to cut it back too.
Right? The only player that's looking to feed Sesko, in my opinion, is either Casemiro or sometimes maybe Dorgu, right? But not Dorgu often. Casemiro sometimes will look to feed Sesko. And one thing I like about Joshua Xerxes is that Joshua Xerxes is not selfish. He's not, right? So Joshua Xerxes, I saw today, was looking to find Sesko. Sometimes it was overplayed, but you can tell that he's trying to get Sesko in on the attack as well too, right? So, but yeah, I can see there's a brain there in Sesko. There wasn't a brain when Hoyland was playing for us, and a lot of people are talking like Hoyland scoring goals at Napoli. Do United fans miss him? No. Similar to Scott McTominay, similar to Fred, we don't miss these guys, right? I'm gonna be a bit harsh here, but Sesko, I've given him maybe one more full season, and then I will make a full judgment, let's say by the end of the 2026, 2027 season of like if he should still be here or if he should move on, right? So who knows? Let's see who will last longer, the manager or Sesko.
Yeah, definitely could be Sesko. I don't know if they're going to spend 70 million to like go play after one season. Again, it's Man United. Anyway, so we want to move on now. Again, I think the press conference, the pre-match press conference, the embargoed section, right, had some murmuring before Man United released the embargoed section, right, and it had something to do. It had something to do with the structure, the way we play, and it had some little stuff being, thrown about, you know, with Amorim and Wilcox, right? So, sometimes you just know when something not really, when things going bad, right? Amorim is usually an upbeat, smiley kind of person, and yesterday in the pre-match and the post-match, it was a difference. It was a different person. Now I know the watch the press conferences for various reasons, which I agree. But you had to see it to tell, and it is no for me when things starting to go south. So a lot was said, but a particular comment I really want to just highlight, and we could sort of talk about it, right? So Amram said here, I just want to say that I came here to be the manager of Man United, not the head coach. That's going to finish in 18 months, and then everyone is going to move on. That's the deal. That's my job, right? So Amram saying here, he is the manager of Man United and not the head coach. But there's also another thing here that I want to pay a little bit of attention to. He's saying that's going to finish in 18 months. Then everyone is going to move on. That's the deal. That's my job. What you all make of that comment? But before we move on, I just want to put this out there because I'm not sure what's going on. Because I remember when the announcement was made, I'm going to just move the banner, right? This is what was posted. And this is back in 2024. United appoints Amorim as new head coach, right? Manchester United is delighted to announce the appointment of Ruben Amorim as head coach of the men's first team. So that being said, I don't know what's going on here, right? So is it, guys, is it that we're missing something in terms of, translation? The man is a Portuguese, and probably it has some little missing in interpretation, something missed in translation. Anyway, the comment is there for us to go into it. So there are two parts to the comment. Let me discuss.
18 months, huh? Well, without, I mean, it's too much. I mean, like I said, chaos. This is chaos. This right here, that is chaos. I mean, where do I even start with this? Where do you even start? You know, the whole head coach manager discussion. Y'all couldn't figure it out before you signed, or the first, 2 months. Here we are talking about head coach and manager. That's one part. And then you go to the whole 18 months thing. Like, are you just here for 18 months? You're not really going to be the future coach of this team? And if not, why are we supposed to be, changing our system, for a coach that's only going to be here for what, 2.5 years, or whatever it is. Like, it just chaos. Like, and we you asked the question last year if this project making sense, and we all agreed no, this is chaos, and this is exactly what we were talking about last week before all this news dropped. Chaos. If he here for 18 months, or if they talk later on and he decided we need to move him on, why it's too many questions popping up, Kareem. I can't even get out fast enough. Like, is this a change? Did they talk and say, well, he gonna leave in 18 months? Do they want to fire him and they can't afford to fire him? Before he contract. What? It's too many questions with this team, and it goes back to what is the purpose of bringing Amram here? Drag him out of his club. changing the whole system of how we play, knowing the kind of players we have, knowing the kind of money it would take to now be saving money. I mean, where does this leave us? I thought with this team, I had two opinions. I thought, the club didn't care about performance. They're just money hungry, business people. But this is worse. This is worse. They're just incompetent. They're trying and they're incompetent. All them fellas just they take a bad situation, the Ineos, whoever it is, take a bad situation with the Glazers and make it worse. I mean, who would have thought this? Who would have thought they would come in and have us in an 18-month hole with Amram, who said he gonna leave after that, and the cat apparently the cat fired him, so they have to make a choice if they want players that he wants. I mean, it's just a mess. I mean, I couldn't comprehend. I can't comprehend the kind of nonsense they do in this club. I can't. Somebody, yeah, go ahead. Y'all go ahead.
So I am here on Google, and I'm here looking at the difference between a manager and a head coach in the sport called football. And it says here, in football, a manager has broad control over the entire club, including transfers, scouting, and finances alongside coaching, while a head coach focuses almost exclusively on pitch tactics, training, and player development, often reporting to a sporting director or general manager for off-field decisions. So, long story short, the manager handles the what, which is the squad building, and the head coach handles the how, team performance, right? You got to ask yourself a question before and after a match, because these are your words, Amram. I am not the manager. I'm the manager, not the head coach, right? If the team does well, who do they look to interview? Who do they look to give praise to? But if the team does not so good, who do they also look to interview? Who do they also look to put the blame on, right? It's you, Ruben Amram. Whether you want to call you can give whatever title you want to yourself. We just want the 11 players on the pitch to do well. Whether you are the head coach, you're the manager, the sporting director, the general manager, we don't care. It sounds like you're just looking to excuse bad performances. And based on the definition here, where the head coach focuses on the on-pitch tactics, right? Up to now, I know nobody in Ruben Amorim's staff. I don't. I only know Ruben Amorim. At the end of the day, when the team is a goal down, they're going to look towards two players. The players on the pitch are going to look towards two people, the captain and also the person on the sideline. Now, whether it's the head coach or the manager, they're all going to look towards you, Ruben Amorim. Okay? And like I said, it almost is like you're making excuses to get out of being blamed for something that is not your responsibility. When lo and behold, it's your responsibility. At the end of the day, you have some part in this club being successful. True or not true? It is your responsibility to take this club forward. And I don't care if you want to dress it up as head coach or manager. This is your responsibility, right? And that's all I got to say for now.
Yeah. Kristen on the inside, so I'm just get some comments because Kristen talking about it as well, right? So Kristen saying here, the man say he is the manager, not the head coach. Scouting have their job to do, sporting director how to do their job. Man went from saying he hoped to spend 20 years to saying he only here for 18 more months. Something is off. All right. You're also saying here, hoping Morocco beat Cameroon, would prefer Mbumo over Maz at the moment. All right. Me and know who to believe in this team again, because let's be real, something off, sounding like promises not being met. Because the board said just the other day, the books, balance, profit, etc. Now they're saying no signings in Jan. They literally want to sell players and not bring in anyone. And the squad already depleted. All right. Finally he's saying here, I don't think any top manager going to want to come here. All right. We say that so many times and people comment, right? I think is always the idea of being the one to bring Man United back to the glory days. That is the pull, you know. Let me just jump in on the comments. You know, it really looking like something is up, right? And I don't think Amorim is the only one to look at in this here. I think you really have to look at the board, and Simeon, you made some real good points in terms of you call the man, you would have given the man certain assurances, in terms of backing. The man would have said, this is what I know, and this is what I want to build here. All right? And then now, halfway through the process, it's seeming to me that things would have changed. Right? And this is why Amorim now coming out and saying what he's saying. Now, the glaring part for me is the second part more than the first, right? Because we could split hairs between manager and coach, whatever, right? But he's saying here that is going to finish in 18 months, and then everyone is going to move on. That's the deal. That's my job. So is it that Amorim kind of hinting that when his current contract, expires, he not gonna be here, he walking? And I think Christian had made mention in the comments just now that he said just recently that he want to be here for the next 20 years. So fellas, what happened? Right? Phil?
Yeah, that last part with regards to the 18 months is almost like he can't wait for this job to be over. It sounds that way, right? I would have done my best for the 3-year contract that I was given, and but it's funny because Omar Barada also stated that we're looking to win the EPL, Manchester United, hopefully in 2028, right? But how? And I know I was okay at maths, but I know if 18 months from now still puts you in the middle of 2027, if that makes sense. So let's say Ruben Amorim goes in the summer of 2027, and we're looking to win the EPL that season, the 2027-2028 season. we can hire a new manager to do that. It's not that often where a club hires a new manager and they immediately win the EPL. I mean, it happened with Arne Slot. Happened, I think, with Jose Mourinho. But I mean, by that time, would there be any elite managers or up-and-coming managers around that time for us to say, you know what? I like you. Come on this mantle at Manchester United, right? So, I don't know, man, Ruben Amorim, you just seem so stubborn, and you don't want to be held accountable for certain things. It just sounds like excuses. Right?
Yeah, two things, right? Do you all right, so I want to ask two questions. Do you all want to put this down to another emotional outburst from the manager? Because remember the game after Grimsby, he talked as a crap again, and then he had to come back after and say, well, I don't mean it, and I want to be here for long, whatever. That is one, right? And the second thing is this: do you all have the belief? Because and this is not me making excuses, but I'm just trying to be devil's advocate here for the manager, right? You see, anyway, because the thing about it is this, right? If you claim to be the manager of the team, then how it is we in this position where we missing Mbumo and Ahmad so much? It's almost as though you didn't cater, or you didn't plan, even though you would have known that the AFCON happened. The AFCON didn't just drop on we lap and we had to release them players. You had to know that them players was leaving for so long. So you telling me that you are the manager, which is not just a coach the team has Phil identified, you have more responsibilities, and you didn't cater and plan your squad better. But anyway, the second question is, do you all think that with the return of Mbumo and Ahmad and Maz, Bruno and Mount and Kobe, that we would be plenty better? We would see a lot more improvement, and things will change for the better.
Man, I don't know. I honestly don't know. When all of them were together early in the season and they see any improvement. So now you're trying to tell me, and that's one thing that Amarin got me so confused about. He's talking like I don't have certain players at his disposal. Fair enough. But when they were at your disposal, I didn't see any like sort of chemistry, any cohesion when all of them were like fully fit, right? So here's the thing. All of them being back, because let's be real, we don't know how far Cameroon and Ivory Coast are going to go into the AFCON. But when they come back, those guys are going to need what, maybe a week, 2 weeks rest? I don't know if they're going to go straight back into the EPL and play, but they're going to each need at least a week or 2 weeks rest, right? So you can't really say, well, let me just, and you know what, this is the sign of an average manager versus a great manager. An average manager will make excuses. A great manager will find ways to cope with certain players not being at his disposal, right? We've said many times on this podcast, whether it was Ten Hag at the helm or Ole at the helm, when you have a philosophy or a system at a club, it doesn't matter who is missing. Whoever is now put into that position has been ingrained with this philosophy, and they know their role when it comes to being put in this system. It's going to look like some players won't be missed if you have such a fluid system, right? Let's go over to Arsenal and Man City, right? Let's start with Man City. If Erling Haaland had to get suspended, right? Will Manchester City fans miss Haaland? Yes, obviously, because he's their main goal threat. But with such a fluid system at Manchester City under Pep Guardiola, and you put somebody up there, maybe they won't be as clinical as Haaland, but they will get chances like Haaland, right? Let's go over to Arsenal. Arsenal, Gyökeres isn't doing too much, but you see when the likes of Gabriel Jesus comes on now, they're like a bit more fluid as well too, right? Because Arteta has instilled a system in the players over the last 6 seasons that you can see there's something already developed around now, right? I can't say the same thing for the last 3 managers, guys. I can't, right? But Ruben Amorim, you gotta ask yourself, and I always keep on pounding on this here. Guys, we only got 1 game a season, a week, We only got one game a week, you know. When we play football on Saturday or Sunday or even Monday, what we do in the other 6 days, you trying to tell me? Somebody told me that we would have been better off playing in Champions League or playing Europa football. I said, why? Well, because the players would have gelled better. I said, what? I said, what? Say that again, but slowly. You say we'll be better off playing more than 1 or 2 games a week because the players would have gelled better. If we can't gel now when we got 1 game a week, how we gonna cope when we in Europe, big man? It's a bunch of nonsense comments, right? I don't know, boy. For some reason, Ruben Amorim is just the guy that's going to be stubborn for the next 18 months, and he's going to give the same excuse or a different excuse every post-match conference. And I don't. The only way I hear about Ruben Amorim's post-match conference is when you post it in when you post it as a banner here reading. That's all he's here on it. That's when I hear it for the first time. Right? I don't really listen because it's about excuses, right? Whether we win or lose, the guy always has some like excuse. So yeah, that's just me.
I want to go to you.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's getting late, but like, how as a player or as a potential player are you gonna move knowing that Amrim has this 18-month timeline? Or he mentioned, I mean, how is a current player or a future player, how do you approach your profession in this club, knowing what Amrim has just said? Oh, was this known to the players? I mean, it's wild. This is crazy. This whole 18-month project thing. It just reeks of. I mean, I don't know if he done, but how do you resume your post? I mean, I know it's not a short, it just long enough time to carry some weight, but still long term. Like how do players react to that? Do future players react to that statement? I just I think that's wild. That. And I hear a lot of people saying that, another thing, people saying, oh, Ruben Amorim, who is Ruben Amorim to say these things, and he's a nobody coach, and he's from Portugal and all this stuff to say about Amorim. I don't disagree, but what I would say is this: whatever he see in this club is what other coaches have seen. A lot of coaches have seen in this club and be like, it won't be the end of their world to leave or to leave Manchester United one way or the other. And I don't know what I'll go back at the board. I don't want to excuse Amrim because Amrim did say that it's all on me when he first got here. But what kind of support system or professionals do we have on the board, in the scouting department, in the financial? What kind of people we have to where managers look at this club and say, you know what, as big as you all are, you all ain't really trying to win, football games. Because what he said, you don't see it about a big club that could really enhance your future.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to just move on from that, and I want to move on to some reputable sources, right? And I guess this is what probably triggered everything, right? So the report saying there is growing tension between Amorim and Jason Wilcox, right? Sources say Wilcox would like Amorim to be more tactically adaptable. Amorim has also been told reinforcements this transfer window is unlikely, right? So it seems as though, and I guess there's more to this, right? But it seems as though, Amorim may have been promised, reinforcements, and then now, Wilcox and whoever, come and saying, well, listen, we don't think we're doing any business in this window, right? Do you all see this as the manager not being given the tools to be successful and the board, basically hanging him out to dry? Or do you all see it differently?
This is like Wilcox telling Amorim to do his job. Do your job. I'm not telling you how to do. I'm not telling you how to do your job, but may I make a suggestion? Right? That's for the first part. Now, with regards to reinforcements, this transfer window is unlikely. Tough luck. Tough luck. You knew that football in the EPL involves injuries and obviously AFCON, right? You did not prep the team for this here, and now we have to suffer, right? So let me all suffer together. We on the podcast, we as fans, whoever goes to the stadium, you, Amaran, let's all suffer together. No reinforcements? Oh, well. I mean, if we get one midfielder, sure. Like Ruben Neves or whatever, right? But if we don't get any reinforcements in the January transfer window, because the January transfer window is one of the windows where you never know what you're going to get, right? And you're trying to tell me that if you don't get any reinforcements, no. Well, actually, let me not skip forward too fast, right? The board backing him definitely was made as a promise. But as I mentioned, the January transfer window, you can't expect that every time the transfer window. I'm trying to find the right words. Okay, I was going to say you can't expect every time the transfer window opens that you expect to get money, right? But I want to be more specific about the January transfer window, right? Now, at the end of the day, you always have to work with what you have, right? If I don't see any results of you or any progress with the current crop of players that you have that we gave you in the summer, right? Why would I look to give you any more financial backing, right? Now, if this was the summer transfer window, then I would have a question, right? But it's the January transfer window. So I don't have much questions. For one, if we don't get anybody in the January transfer window, I won't be upset because I know that player will definitely be drinking the same juice as Cunha and Wemo when they're here. They'll start off a little bit hot, and then all of a sudden they'll adapt to the 3-4-3, and they won't reach their full potential. And lo and behold, we're back at the same position over and over again, right? That's my take on it.
I kind of agree. So then you could come in after. I kind of agree because, I mean, it's like you spend 200 million, and Sesko not firing. Cunha playing okay, but Cunha struggling. And Mbumo, the one who started the best, you saw him fall off. And in a system that requires so many specialists, let me put it like this. If the club were to invest in these specialist players to play that 3-4-3, then how flexible the team will be going forward. is it that these players will just be so suited to play a 3-4-3, and then, well, if we want to change and play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, we'll find ourselves in a similar position now as now? And then now, I'm not seeing where Amorim really utilizing the qualities that he has within his squad. He's not showing that he's adaptable. He want these players, and those are the players that he had to get. Otherwise, this 3-4-3 can't work. And I'm taking it hard to agree that you have a load of professional international players and you can't use them to get the best out of them. And you want me to go and entrust now more money to get specialist players that may not be adaptable, because they're so fixed on playing this system that you hell-bent on. So, I mean, I think in any organization, the hierarchy, the senior management should be able to question the manager or the coach or whoever the ground level staff is, and say, well, hey, where's the flexibility? Where's the adaptability? Right? And I need you to make better use of the resources that you have before I can invest further. I don't see nothing wrong with that. Simeon?
I I disagree. Not because what you're saying is unreasonable, is because of who the man they brought in. The man they brought in was Ruben Amorim, the Portuguese manager from Lisbon, who from day one, talk about 3-4. My system is my system. He ain't 4-4-2 Ruben Amorim. He ain't 4-2 3 Amorim. His system is his system. We all knew this going in. The English media, the pundits, we all talked about this system, how it wasn't gonna work here and all this nonsense. And he, from the beginning, said, "This is my system. I'm gonna play." Which makes this thing make even less sense where we are right now, because my biggest question is who bought the players since he's been here? Who's been pulling the strings on these players? Not just Mbumo and Cunha. I'm talking Dorgu and Sesko. Were there players that he wanted that we didn't get, that were further, helped his system? Because when you switch to his system, like you said, you can't go halfway. We had to know that. To me, to you, it looks like it should be easy to go to a back four. It just seems so, but that's not what he does. It's kind of like you hire somebody to to fix your floor, to do tile or something, and they can't find enough tiles, so they to put wood down, put wooden floors. He could probably do that, but his specialty is tile, and he want tile to use instead. I just feel like it headed to a foreseeable breakdown, which should have been any company doing feature analysis will have come to. It's exactly where people who study Manchester United know we would be at this point. We would struggle get the players who always have problems playing a new system. We would struggle, and then the coach would want his players, and then would the club be able to get the players he wants? And like, if those players he got were his players that he got instead of other players, and he signed off on them, and we play this shit fine. I mean, I wouldn't I can't endorse, giving him more money to spend. But if somebody else bringing in the players for him, I have I think he had a quarrel there. I think we 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 look at Amarim and we see what he's doing, and we forget that the condition or the contract he was brought into. He's gonna come in here. He's gonna play his 3-4-3 or whatever he wants to play, and then we are just gonna we are supposed to find the best players to play that system. That's what I thought it would be when we brought him in.
My thing with that, Simeon, is, and again, I don't disagree with what you're saying in terms of we know what he was coming with. But one of the qualities that I think every manager should have is the ability to adapt, right? That I think that should be fundamental in yes, you could specialize in a particular way of play of if based on what the case is. But I still think you should have some form of adaptability. And I remember many times Amram saying that the 3-5-3, the 3-4-3 is a what you call it, by is not a is a system, is a formation or something of the sort. And he said that it could evolve into
Yeah.
different things. Right? So saying that, there's an admission that come out of your mouth, then we should be able to see a few things. One, we should be able to see players improve, right? We should be supposed to be able to see, adaptability where you're not so hell bent, you're not so stubborn on three at the back, you're not so stubborn on every game. You're stubborn off a defender. And even if you're so good at this 3-4-3, why do we still concede so many goals? Right? So it's all these things I'm looking at and I'm saying, okay, all right, fine. This is what the way he wants to play. But where is the adaptability? Where are players improving? We gave you, and you're asking for players who are flexible, who are a little more versatile. So you have Mbumo, you have Ahmad, you have Cunha, you have Bruno. All these players are very, very versatile players. And we're not seeing where these players improving, you know. So so this is what I'm saying. Yes, I agree that we brought him in under knowing his history, knowing his record, but at the same time, there are other, measures, things that we can measure and say, well, I don't think he would defer the investment. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think we come to we after all that we come to the same point. Why is this man, you know, continue to be the manager of Manchester United?
I can tell you why. the man, the man have a silver tongue, though. The man have a silver tongue. The man could talk. People who just get work because they could talk good, right? And when they get put, they get faced now with the task. They start a cold sweat. That's what's going on right now. I think Amarim talk a good talk, and when started face the pressure, he didn't. He just couldn't deliver on what he's saying. But people not seeing that, and people just saying that Ineos not delivering. But I think it's Amarim not delivering based on how conversations may have gone.
But you see the another level to this is the Amarim Ratcliffe relationship compared to the actual what's his name again, Wilcox. So he right now with that statement, he put a little friction there between the structure, the built-in structure. He kind of skipping a level, like, hey, I can't do my first, but it's not my job. You can't have Neville and them knocking at people and changing stuff. So I think we need to watch that space, because if we had at this point to where he disclosing how long he's gonna be here and all that stuff, there's gonna be some internal conversations being had about, do we want to stay with Ruben over here, or do we want to go, or do we think about changing, Wilcox or somebody else, up on the board? Because I mean, honestly, they all should go, but you know, you start seeing and honestly, that might be the best thing of the day, because the way this club going and the way they were carrying on, like Button was wrong. That was troubling. So
Yeah. So I guess, guys, we had to wait and see how things will unfold. I was just sent Lionel sent um a report here. It's saying here Ruben Amorim's future hangs in the balance as senior figures at the club are unimpressed by the latest comments, right? And it's saying here Amorim was upset at the lack of market movement, breakdown in relationship with Jason Wilcox. Amorim wanted Ollie Watkins over in the summer, and the tense situation is developing. So I guess it's something that we have to, keep our fingers on. We don't know how this thing will unfold.
Kareem, if I remember Watkins and the game Sesko, he done send Rasmus away. Y'all watch that space.
Yeah, well, I mean, any manager will tell you that they don't always get their players, and I think what Man United was trying to do, based on what we understand, they were trying to build a system where they provide the players, obviously with the manager's recommendation or input, rather than having ex-manager players, and then when Y manager come in, he had to get an ex-manager players. So when they come in now, they're coming in and meeting the club's players. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Now, actually working that out, I don't know, but I think that is where Ineos was kind of that the direction they were heading. So you coming in, and we go try to align based on direction and style of play and stuff like that. And these are the players that we as the club, going to bring in. And this is why Vivel was brought in, because he was a scout. He was very good at identifying the youth players that come up and excel. I was really just to get a manager to come in and utilize these players and get the best out of them. So that's how it, in my mind, what the plan was. And we're here a year after, and we faced with this situation. So it's something, guys, as I said before, we had to watch the space and see how this develops, because the comments from the manager, head coach, wherever, right, didn't come across as healthy, but then again, Amorim has been known to be a very emotional character, so we don't know if he'll come next press conference and apologize and say he was just wherever and everything good, So I guess we have to wait before we make anything out of it. But based on the smoke, that we see, and fire might be near, and that fire might ultimately mean that Amorim might no longer be here. And I be honest with you, I spoke of my displeasure in the manager already, so I'm not gonna lose no sleep, right? He was done. He all right. He was probably done wrong by the board, but I still think I didn't see the level of adaptability. I didn't see the level of improvement, the way we play, and I think at any other club, Amorim go on a long time, So, guys, up next is Burnley. Will Amorim be at the helm? Will somebody else be at the helm? Will an interim be appointed? I guess we'll wait and see. But until then, guys, I guess we just have to, wait. All right. So, Simeon, Phil, guys, thanks for being on the pod. Those in the comments, those who are going to watch it after, we would appreciate all the likes, all the shares, subscription, everything. So do have a good night and see you on the next one. Blessings.